So I hope this session will be very helpful. Karan, can you hear all of us?
Yeah.
Yes, Zahir, I can hear you. Am I also audible?
Yes, yes.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
are we good to start?
Yes, yes, we are good to start. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Sure. So I will just need maybe a presenter role. Let me see if I can start screen sharing. Let me try. No, I think I will need, yeah, I'll need the presenter role. Zahir.
Yeah, we will just do it.
Thank you. So meanwhile, we can start with the, we can start with the introduction meanwhile. So this session, firstly, I would like to, thank Saudi Arabia Oracle user group to give me the, opportunity to present. And my old mentor and friend, Nasim Basha, he has been
Karan.
very helpful. We have been, yeah.
Karan,
Yes, Zaid. Am I audible?
I think there is echo actually.
In my voice?
No, it's fine now. So can you are you able to share the screen, right? Now can
Let me
you try?
try.
Can you try now?
Yeah, I can share. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're okay, you can start your video also if you're comfortable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that will be more interactive.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I'm able to share my screen now. Yeah, perfect. So
Yes, yes.
I'll start my video as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, good to go.
Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. So I was just trying to, thank Nasim Basha, my mentor and friend. I've been working with him, I would say, since last almost 20 years. And I would say the inspirations have been very long. I would see him, most of you, if you know, it's around 2005, actually, almost 20 years back. There were people on Oracle community like Hemant Chital, Cybrin Baker. They are the people, and along with the Nasim Basha Oracle community, yeah, they would contribute and become community gurus and even mosque guru, I would say. So it all started from there. There were many other people as well. The list is quite long. So and then I saw Nasim Basha. He became OCM, ACE director. So and then I also inspired. I was inspired to become OCM as well. And then thank you, special thanks to Zahid as well. I've learned a lot of e-business suite internals from him. He's been author of e-business suite books as well. So I'm very privileged to work with them. It's been a great journey with them since I would say up to 20 years, more than 10 years, definitely. So I would say they are the heroes of the previous generation, because I would always say there are two generations, the first generation and today's generation. So they have been inspiring community since the oldest generation, I would say. So amazing journey. So I would like to start now. Let's continue. So about this session, guys, uh, uh, I thought, Exadata today is very definitely hot. Even if Oracle, Oracle is doing a lot of, hiring as well today, because most of the stuff is on Exadata today. So even if you're not in Oracle or not in, aspiring to join Oracle, on premises, a lot of Exadata, skills are required. The problem here is that the industry does not have Exadata skills. There are very few people in Middle East and India and across Western side who actually know Exadata. If a company needs, let's say they want to bring in X9M, right, or X8M, right, and you ask them, okay, you ask a consultant, can you build the machine for us? Can you customize the machine for us according to our requirement? The answer would be no, right? Anyone can do a SQL plus / SSDB and do the basic performance tuning. But what about managing the storage? What about managing the machine, administering the machine, or doing the other automation stuff, right? If the customer says, Karan, I want this much of flash recovery, FRA disk group, and the data disk group, I want this much. How would you manage the grid disks, cell disks, right? All of that is very important, right? And today, if you have Xrclr skills, you are the pretty hottest DBA. The hottest DBA, when I say, is the DBA who is actually very skilled. And that's why I've written here Xrclr DM, machine administrator. You need networking skills, you need storage skills, how you would manage the LUNs, the disk controller. Well, last week I was working in our Xrclr system, and we saw there was a DIM slot failure. The RAM failed. Suddenly we saw Aura 7445s in the alert logs, and we have to replace the DIM slot, which is basically used by a RAM, the physical memory in the server. It can be cell server as well, because cell storage server also uses RAM, right? Isn't it? So, moving forward, we will not be spending much time on the introduction of the Xrclr machine, because I've kept the session especially for storage and performance. So this is now I'll be sharing some of the links, which I would say I've opened some Xrclr documentation for you. So if you can see here, if you see this very nice documentation from Oracle itself, the Xrclr database server, right? It, of course, depending on quarter rack, half rack, full rack, right? If you are in a quarter rack, you will have 3 storage cells and 2 database server. Moving forward, you might have 8 database servers, 14 storage server cells. If you're a full rack, and hybrid rack can even have more, 20 cells. No problem, again, depending on how you deal with the Oracle or negotiate with Oracle. But if you see here today, from X8M onwards, you have if you see these ports, right, from the database servers. Now, these ports, of course, will have IP address configured. There are 2 files which I will show you cell IP.aura and cell init.aura, where you identify a network IP addresses from which interact with storage cells. Now, they are a very fast network, 100 gigs. It's up till X7, it was InfiniBand, which was 40 gigs per second. But it's really amazing that Oracle has increased up to 100 gigs because of the Cisco, which you call a Rocky switch, you're right, converged Ethernet. Right? So things have changed a lot now, coming from InfiniBand. So this is purely the what you call this database server interact with the storage. And if you see here, very interesting here, we have a management switch, right? Now, management switch, for people who are new to this Xrclr machine, management switch, you basically manage the machine. When you say manage the machine, for example, you want to administer something, take a ILOM console, right? When you say ILOM console, out of band connection. For example, you want to reboot the cell or do a power recycle of the machine. You can't log in from PuTTY, right? You want to directly go to ILOM and do physical reboot, isn't it? So that's again, ILOM is another discussion. We don't want to go into deep and go away from our focus point, which is storage in this session. So administration, ILOM, all these use this is another Cisco switch, guys, management switch. So you come from here, that's the administration network. You won't be using a Rocky switch here or a InfiniBand switch in X7 or X8 Rocky switch. Obviously, that's purely for database server and storage communication. So if you're doing a full table scan, which is known as perhaps a smart scan, we will be discussing that as well, or an index scan, you will be going through cell directly from the RDMA network fabric switch, right? And this again, it's all the details are here. You have 2 RDMA network fabric switches. Of course, if the rack is quite bigger, you will have a spine switch as well, right? And remember, they are always bonded. When I say bonded, bonding, LACP, link aggregation control protocol. Bonding is when 2 network adapters, they are logically bonded. So if one adapter goes down, you are still up and running. Everything is bonded when we say network in Xrclr. We have, it's always highly available. If one component goes down, I won't use the word 2 components because it depends, even in storage, whether you have normal redundancy or a high redundancy. We as a customer, we use high redundancy because it's a complete 3-way mirroring. So a single insert would have 2 extra mirrors. In ASM, we use high redundancy, right? So even in FRA disk group or a RECO disk group, and not just data disk group. So it depends again how critical your business is. We are into financials, I work for Fidelity, and we use completely high redundancy. Anyways, that's moving forward. Smart flash cache. Now, flash cache is very important, guys, to understand here. Any DBA, I'll just come back here. I just want to show you first one single thing here. Now, if you want to understand here, very important here. Now, these are hard disks which we are talking about here. Every hard disk. Now, Oracle has 12 hard disks, 2 are remain for system, and remaining 10 are available for storage. Now, remember, these are which we are talking about here, physical hard disk. I will show you the high performance hard disk and can be high capacity as well. High performance hard disk has faster RPM, and high capacity hard disk has slower RPM. So you will always choose high performance for better performance. But remember, flash cache is very important here. Why? Because you don't buy as a customer always all flash, right? All flash means everything is flash, no magnetic hard disks, right? But we as a customer, definitely we have mixed. We have hard disks as well as flash cache. So flash cards in X8M or perhaps in X7 up to 24 terabyte flash cache. So most of your data will be flash cached and most of the IOs will be served from flash cache, right? So you would see microsecond latency in your AWR reports, right? Now the problem comes when most of your databases or some of your database, let's say in Exadata system, you have 5 databases or 6 databases, the problem comes. Why? Because one database might use or eat most of the flash cache, right? So inserts and selects that database is eating up and other databases have slow IOs. So because I work for mission critical systems in our company, being a financial organization, even a single millisecond is quite long, I would say. We deal in 100 or 50 microseconds. Right, a single query, if it's just a 50 microseconds delay, it can affect the SLAs. Right, reason being because our long batches sometimes it take 1 hour, but the moment it goes 90 minutes, we breach the SLA. Right, because financial reports are very critical. Customer wants to see funds, etc. It's very mission critical, isn't it? For example, you're investing something and you don't see perhaps proper funds, that's a huge latency, right? So mission critical systems are very important when it comes to flash cache. So another discussion we would like to see later in this session is IORM, right? In IORM, you would like to configure and make sure your database gets appropriate shares. So we will have a discussion about that as well. So you have to make sure most of the IOs are served from the flash cache itself. So remember the physical hard disk, the actual LUN, or the physical hard disk itself is single LUN. Single hard disk means single LUN. In other systems, maybe in non-Exadata, you might carve a LUN into 4 partitions, right? But in Exadata, each hard disk is a physical LUN, right? And that is known as a cell disk. So one cell disk is one hard disk, which is itself is a LUN, right? And that cell disk is then broken into grid disks. Right. So if, let me show you. So again, on the screen, you can clearly see how I'm creating this grid disks prefix data, the grid disk, if all of them which start with data size, I'm giving 2 terabyte, depending on what size you want to do. And 2 terabyte is the best because each hard disk is 2 terabytes generally. Right. You can always go to list physical disk and see the disk size. Right. So that's how you would like to, do it. So I will be sharing all these commands as well with you. So remember, now this is my development environment, and I would create the cell with my Ethernet 0. When I say Eth0 in your Exadata storage server, you would see bond IB0, or bond IB1, right? So bond IB here is the fabric which connect the database servers and to the cell storage servers, right? So here in my development environment, I'm using the Ethernet just for your demonstration purpose. In your cases, you would use properly bond IB0, right? Flash logs are also configured. Log writer will be writing 500 megabytes of log files are configured, or redo log for redo log writes, and then they eventually move to redo log groups and then archive later on, right? For faster IOs, they go to flash log first, and flash cache as well. Flash cache is very high. Usually it is in terabytes, not much, but less than 20 terabytes or up to 12 terabytes. Well, depending whether you have a quarter, a half, or a full drive. So you can, well, personally, I have tuned a lot of systems. Today, if you have a very critical table, let's say you are in a bank and you have accounts table or customers table, right? If you say alter table accounts, flash cache, keep, you wouldn't believe the performance will be so high, so good, that provided your IOs were not served by flash cache, isn't it? You would see queries flying in Exadata, microseconds, maybe 100 microseconds or 200 microseconds, sub-second latency, which we call it, right? So, and index is an alter index, cell flash cache keep, right? But you have to be very careful with the mathematics here. Why? Because depending on how many databases you have, right? So again, it's really amazing that how IOs can, because the previous generation was on CPUs, right? But after the Oracle identified, most of the bottlenecks is with IO. You might have a AMD. Oracle has also moved into AMD, by the way, in new X9M models in cloud. Gone are the days now. We have Intel, we have AMDs now, right? Gone are the days only we rely on CPU speed, right? Today, IO is the most critical factor in terms of performance, right? So cell was configured. Now to save time, I won't be typing and taking a lot of time. So I will be creating cell disk. In this case, I have two cell disk created in your actual XATEMs. It depends what kind of rack you have. 12 hard disks, 2 for system and 10 for remaining for the data. So when I say system, it means operating system, your Red Hat, right? So one flash is also configured. And what I'll do is, because this is a development environment, I won't be using too much of space here. I will use all the grid disks with the 1 GB, just for the sake of demonstration to save time. Otherwise, huge time maybe take less grid disks. And you don't need to inactive. So if I say alter grid disk inactive, or grid disk all inactive, you don't need to do that because they were already active, right? So active, so you don't need to inactivate them. They're already active, right? And when now this is interesting. So now you're actually ready. You have the grid disks ready, and you are ready to carve your LUNs and make a ASM disk group with this. So I have this is my ASM disk group, and for the demonstration purpose, I'm using external redundancy, and I'm giving a disk path here. Now I'll show you this disk path here. Remember, it starts with O. In Exadatas, always starts with O, right? In non-Exadata, you will see /dev something, right? /dev in Linux, right? But in Exadata, it always starts with O, and you should use here star. I'm using a typical Exadata IP address, one single cell storage server IP address here. You can use a host name as well here, and you should use star here. Why you should use star here in these two? Star means it should use all the cells. The IO should spread across all the cells and use all the grid disks with using star as well. So you should use star so that your IOs are spread across all the cell disks or cell storage servers. When I say single cell, means entire storage server, right? So you should make sure that's the case. So a bad DBA will put everything in a single storage server, right? You don't want to do that, right? So if it's a quarter rack, 3 storage servers, so put a star here. Don't hard code cell IP or cell host name. Put a star here and star here, right? O is mandatory. O is mandatory, right? In Exadata, that's special in Exadata, right? So and then basic, like if you are doing some basic housekeeping task, I won't be cleaning up it. I don't want to drop this disk group now. That's for my later. Maybe if I'll do some other session, then I have to drop it. All of them have to drop it and drop it again. So anyways, just for your understanding, you can actually restart cell server processes, right? Now it's a very important point. Unable to shut down because the data disk group is mounted. So you have 2 options because Oracle Exadata makes sure you don't get downtime, right? So perhaps you can dismount a disk group or shut down the databases or dismount the databases or dismount the disk groups, I should say. So at the moment, to save time, let me just drop the disk group. And now I should be able to restart the cell services. Now, 3 important processes. RS is the major mother process, RS. It's a restart process, I'll tell you. It actually, when I say mother processes, why it's critical is it monitors cell server, cell SRV, cell services. It's a Java multi-threaded program, and and the MS as well, management server. Now, individually also you can restart the processes, like you can do cell shutdown only RS and only start RS as well. That also you can do, not a problem with that. So instead of writing all, you can just, if RS is hung, you can shut down RS and start it. So you don't have to do kill -9, right? So you can do that as well. And all is typically useful. It restarts the processes. So if I'm in a quarter rank, I have 3 cells, I don't mind restarting cell services on a single cell, because IOs will be served on the other 2 cell storage servers. So you're always up and running, don't worry. At least make sure you have a mirroring, normal redundancy at least, or high redundancy. It's always good, right? So now internals is that you have to understand cell SRV, right? So these are the processes. It may be too zoomed out. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Appearance. So now these are the processes. Let me make 12. Yeah, this looks better. So if you see here, let me clean it up. Yeah, this is better. So if you see here, guys, cell RS SRM, right? This is the main process. And if you see here, 15837 is the process ID. Now, if you look at cell RS OMT here, I'm highlighting it as well. The parent of cell RS OMT is actually, again, 15837. You see? So cell RS SRM UC is the main process. I'll show you once again. If you see here, even in this case, which is cell RS MMT. So there is cell RS OMT and cell RS MMT. Even the MMT is started by cell RS SRM. And if you see, its parent process is also 15837. This is the main process ID, and the parent process ID is this, right? And 15837, if you see here, is also cell RS SRM. Don't worry, don't be confused. I have all documented for you. So I have personally documented this for you. So what you can actually do is, hold on, where is, have I opened the wrong, sorry, my bad. I've opened the wrong slide deck. This is the one, yeah. This is the one. So this session will be divided into 2 phases. Performance is coming up next. So this is a storage server, right? This is what we're talking about. RS main process, startup process. So cell RS SRM invokes OMT, cell RS OMT, and then cell RS OMT invokes cell RS BMT, which is followed by invoked by later on, which invokes MMT, cell RS MMT. And then BMT invokes BKM, and then BKM invokes SMT. Eventually, OMT invokes cell SRV. When I say OMT, I mean cell RS, right? And then cell RS MMT invokes the MS process. These are purely internals, which I just proved you by process ID, child and parent process ID. Don't worry, it's all documented. You will get the slide decks. I've shared the slide decks, and it's available with our Saudi Arabia portal. So you will get all the access. So you see here, you see here, RS process is the main guy, right? What it does is it manages cell SRV, MS service. Now the MS process is very important here. MS is the guy which manages cell CLI, command line interface configuration. It's responsible for sending alerts as well. But if you see here, cell RS OMT is actually the one responsible for launching SRV, cell services. Cell services is the most critical one. Why? Because it does all the smart features. You know, cell smart scan. It does storage indexes. All the IOs, critical functions is done by cell services. MS is like sending alerts, managing the configuration, etc. Right? Because configuration is hardly broken. So nothing to worry. You have all documented here. So once you get this, have a look at it, read it. You won't see it in official documentation. I have documented here in the slide for you, so you can have a look later on. And cell SRV is also manages IORM as well. IORM, we will have a talk about IORM today. So you will get a very quick understanding as well. Cell SRV, if you can see on the screen, it's pretty interesting. It dumps the diagnostic data to ADR, and then MS sends you the metric alerts as well. And for 7 days, the metrics are kept. If any issues happens, like let's say there's a hardware failure, DIMM slot failure, or a motherboard failure, or a flash card failure. Flash cards are hot replaceable, by the way. depending what kind of a customer you are. We are platinum customers, so Oracle guarantees within 5 hours, we have the ability to replace your flash card or a hard disk if it fails. They're online replaceable flash cards. When we say online, that means a self-storage server may not be needed to power off. But usually we have to sometimes, but again, depends on cases to cases. So I wanted to show you one very important thing just to save time. I'll copy this guy here. So I can't run this on operating system. I have to use cell CLI, and then so I have like 15 minutes more for storage stash session. I'll be try to be finishing the storage on time so that we cover performance session as well. So if you see here, list metric current. First of all, if you see when you log into cell CLI, you will see cell efficiency ratio as well. Cell efficiency ratio, the higher the better. That means actually it should never be negative. If it's negative, something is wrong, and you will raise ask them what's going on. Perhaps some faulty hardware or some other bug in cell where perhaps you would have to patch the image. And then if you see here, don't be confused. There are a lot of metrics here. CD would always mean cell disk, and GD will always mean grid disk. By means bytes, and FC means flash cache dirty. So if you see cell disk IO bytes, which has a read, W will mean write, and LG means large write. A large write means which is greater than 128 kilobytes, and a small read means SM. Small read means which is lesser than 128 KB, right? So I'm configuring storage for you from scratch. So here you will see 0 bytes. The moment I have created the database and run some workload, you will see these numbers going forward because I've just configured cell from scratch for you. So you could see I configured this group for you till the end. So obviously you can now easily create a database with this group. I don't have to show you, that will be very basic. So perhaps we don't need to see that. So until this group creation, you are all good. And that's all you need. After this group, anyone can create a database with this group, right? So moving forward, scrub is also a very important point as is coming in the front. There are dozens of them, by the way. Scrubbing, yeah, scrubbing happens in Oracle bi-weekly. You can change the scrubbing interval. It's like a background job, background scheduler job. Oracle automatically runs in the cell servers. What it does is it scrubs the hard disks if it has any faults, corruptions, etc. It can be some hardware or software corruption. So that's scrubbing for you, right? So scrubbing happens, disk resilvering, and so on. They are also amazing topic. I would love to talk about that maybe offline later with you. So there are tons of stuff which I have to cover. It's like I can't cover an ocean in 60 to 90 minutes, but yeah. So cell CLI, list cell, you can actually manage the cell from cell CLI, not a problem, right? You can see how many cells. Now remember, cell CLI is basically is on an individual cell. Right? You can't log into all the cells at the same time, right? That is why you have another utility, something called DCLI. With DCLI only, you can log into multiple cells. I'm going to show you, I have in my session as well. Yeah, DCLI, you see. So this DCLI guy, what it does is you can actually -G, this is a file name. So in the my cells file, you would have cell storage server names, cell 1, cell 2 host names. And then what you want to do, you want to run the date command. You want to run the date command over there. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And you can give -C cell names as well, list cell, etc. And you can even say a group. Yeah, again, cell server groups. With user root, I want to run this on the remote machines, whichever host names are there in this file name. MyDB servers may be a text file. And then you put the host names of the cell in that file, and this shell script will run on that, on all those cell servers or database servers maybe, which are there in this file. But make sure you have SSH established. Without that, it will be obviously not possible. So you also have EXA. Okay, let's start from here, right? Make sense from here, yeah. So as a root user, you do generally basic, most of the administration work. You manage the network storage. There are two important files, cellinit.ora and cellip.ora. Cellinit.ora establishes what interfaces are available on the storage from database server. And these files are kept on the database servers, remember. Cellip.ora, again on the database server, this file will have the cell actual IP addresses. with the IP addresses for the cell. These files you will have in /etc Oracle, basically /etc network config. You would network diagnostic tools you will find in OPT Oracle support tools. So, for example, you want to run maybe SunDiag, maybe you want to run Calibrate, maybe you want to run Xrclr Watcher. They usually will be in OPT Oracle support tools, right? Depending on how you have set up your machine from scratch. Cell administrator can create drop hard disks. When I say hard disk, I mean grid disk, cell disk, etc. And cell monitor is for like junior DBAs. You can give cell monitor password to junior DBA. What you can do is simply list and describe the disks and basic objects. So you don't want a junior DBA to do some critical task, right? The root is very sensitive, and one mistake can bring down your production. So be very careful. Roles are very important for junior and senior DBAs. So be careful. And so if you see here, we have a user created granted privileges. Cell administrator is granted administration privileges through a role named administrator. Consequently, I would say the cell administrator has the admin capabilities in this example here. It's equivalent to cell admin user. Cell monitor will be the monitoring user. Just like think of it like a select catalog role, right? So it's very interesting. You can grant privileges and create user and grant roles to cell monitor user. In the last part of this slide, you would see GDSK role, and we're giving GDSK role to the disk man user, who will simply create, alter, and list grid disks only, right? So you can limit the security depending on what kind of roles the DBA or DMAs have, right? Now this is Xrclr. Xrclr is very cool utility, same as cell CLI. However, the difference is Xrclr manages the cells from the remote host, right? So compliance like banking and maybe finance may not require you to log in directly into cell with cell CLI. So what you can do is, because see, auditing is very important, right? Auditors, they fire questions like anything. They can ask you why DBAs are logging directly to cell, right? So you can tell them, we don't do that. We have Xrclr, and from database server, we run commands to cell CLI, right? And Xrclr from database server, passwordless, you can connect remotely, right? So it's very interesting. And all the communication between Xrclr and the management server MS process running on the cell is done all via HTTPS, right? Security certificates, will allow cells to confirm their identity. Don't worry, to Xrclr. And MS management server is deployed with a normally default cell sign certificate, which is a security certificate. Or what you can do is you can upload a different security certificate issued by a certificate authority. So that's something which is very useful for you. And in this example, if you see here, we have list, we have a cell administrator user. -L means what kind of user I'm using and what cell host name I'm going to log in with the password, right? So this is very important, interesting. Now, if you see here, the first two examples, prompts for a password if the default cookie jar does not contain a valid cookie, but because the cookie jar option is specified, if you see here in the third example, cookie jar option, and the new cookie that is actually generated during the connection, it will be saved in the default cookie jar. And eventually we are doing a cell disk command, and that's pretty much done here. And DCLI we have covered. DCLI is to run commands on multiple cells at the same time to save time, right? Last but not the least, we have seen here, some examples. XRDCLI, that's another, option which you can use, which would essentially, by the way, how many slides? That's pretty much the last slide before we go to calibration. So XRDCLI, basically, if you see previously I showed you DCLI, right? To execute commands, maybe like operating system date command in the previous example, right? So so basically the -G option, which you see down below, -G my cells, right? You can also use -G option over here. And so there's some disturbance in the room, right? So which contains basically target servers where we want to run the command. So that's pretty much very good. So I would say very interesting how you would manage from command line. This if you clearly see here, this is the command file. This command file will have a command which will be run across these cells with this particular user. So nothing to worry. And this first command is also using a list cell. So difference is in one case we are using a file, in the other we are using the command with -e option. Calibration, it's very interesting. Calibrate. Now you would see as a DBA, if you are into performance tuning, you would know your IOs are slower. AWR reports will always tell you, right? So AWR reports will tell you, okay, this is why the performance is slow, and a lot of IOs latency wise, you're running pretty much pretty low, and you can run calibrate force. Make sure you don't run this in the peak time when your IO workload is running. So this results will be showing you that LUN 0, LUN 1, all the LUNs, right? They are within the acceptable limits. If they are not within the acceptable limits, you would see down below that they are not in the acceptable range, right? How much IOPS they can do and how much Mbps of stuff they can do, right? So make sure you compare, calibrate in the good and bad time, but don't run this in the peak hours, right? So maybe weekend you can do when less workload is there. But strong red alert, please do not run without proper knowledge. Do not run with the workload running, please. It may bring down the system, because this guy will smash the IOs like anything to test how much IOs are being catered, and whether there is a problem in the hard disk or even the flash cards. It will check the flash LUNs as well. Flash cards, well, in our quarter rack, it's a mixed hard disk and a flash. So we have 4 flash cards and 4 flash cards, which will show you. For alerts, you can configure cell server. You can say alter cell, my email address, send the notification on this particular email, critical alerts, warning, and etc. Restart services, well, I've shown you that, not a problem. Create cell disk, we have done that. So the interesting part here is, guys, if you see here, cell disk is created first and the grid disk are created from cell disks, right? So the storage layout is pretty clear to you now. Sparse, well, virtualization you can do. Sometimes you think it's just like Delphix, right? So you can create a disk group with a very larger size, let's say 50 terabytes, even though space is not available. So it's virtual, and you can make sparse snapshots and with the sparse disk groups, and you can refresh your development and lower environments like UAT and development. You can refresh them very quickly. Within a few minutes, you can refresh them by creating a standby database, and then those standby database will have a virtual databases created. This is very interesting part, by the way. It's just like Delphix, Delphix also does this pretty much the same. Delphix also will make a standby, which is a gold copy, and then from those standby archives, we refresh the lower environments with the snapshots. It's very fast. You don't have to run ARM and duplicate these days. So things have changed a lot. So these are the files I was talking about, guys. Right? You remember etc Oracle. These files are over here, network config directory in the cell folder, cell directory, right? So cell init file will have the network interfaces of the storage server identified on the database, right? And remember, guys, it's pretty much, you see the subnets. The subnets are the same: 192.168.10, 192.168.10, right? I will be doing very soon maybe a session how this subnetting works in networking, because the networking knowledge in the cloud is very important. Just imagine you are configuring a virtual machine or a Amazon or a Oracle Cloud EC2 instance or a VM for a customer, and they ask you to create 24 VMs, right? So in your subnet, how many virtual machines can be launched, or host, I should say. Host is a VM, right? So how many VMs can be launched from that subnet? You may exceed the limit, right? It can be just 40. So you should know subnetting knowledge, right? I was lucky I did my CCNA a long time back, 10 years back. I'm a Cisco certified network associate. So So these subnetting is very crucial, critical for your cloud knowledge as well. I'll be doing a session how subnetting works in public cloud, but not today. So that your hosts are able to reach. So again, networking is always important. If you know that, it's an add-on to your skill and CV. You are a good Exadata DMA if you know all these things, network, etc. A lot of things are there, virtualization as well. So disk strings. I remember I told you O/**. Compatibility. Everybody knows how to create a disk group with a compatible option, and this is pretty much done. You see, create disk group, normal redundancy, O**, and disk I want, which starts from data star. Remember why I use star here? I want to leverage all the cell hosts, all the storage cells. So if it's a quarter rack, I want to use all the 3 cells, right? So that's pretty much done. And alter disk group, you can change the content type, data or recovery. If you do a system data or recovery, basically the secondary copy will be pushed accordingly. So if it's archive log, it's very important for recovery. If you say alter disk group reco to recovery, you see here secondary, this dark green color S is on a separate disk group, or basically in a separate failure path. If you see here, so they're not on the same controller. You see, so if the secondary copy is spread on a different disk group. So double failure, basically, when I say double failure or double disk group failure, if 2 hard disks fail, it can be possible that both the hard disks have failed from the data as well as for a recovery or flash recovery area, right? Then you are done, right? It's very problematic. So if the data and archive log is also lost, that's very extreme. That's why the content type is very important in the recovery, whether your content type is recovery, system, or data. When we say system, it's usually the metadata or maybe the DBFS or the ACFS business files, right? So that's managing disk groups, dropping grid disks. Now, this is very important. Sometimes, you want to reclaim space. So in Exadata, never do alter disk group drop disk. No. In Exadata, there's a special meta link note, which I can recheck and give you the doc ID on perhaps Twitter or the Saudi Arabia user group blog. What we'll do is you have to drop disk in a failure group one by one in all the cell servers, because all the cells must be synchronized. It's not that easy. You need special skills to reclaim space from Exadata storage. You just cannot say alter disk group FRA and drop disk. No, you cannot, please. All right, there's a proper metalink node to do that. So you drop disk in the failure groups one by one, let it synchronize, you drop disk, you create it again, and with a particular size. So be very, very careful. It's not that easy. Security, yes, is there. I'll be very quick now because we need to jump into performance session. So security is very important. Why? Because depending, again, it can be cloud, customer to customer. Some of the databases should have only limited number of storage cells access. If there are 20 cells, you don't want to give one database access to all the cells, right? Might be security, might be some banking or financial needs, depending on what kind of cloud design they have chosen. So you can configure ASM scope security and the cell-based database scope security. So when we say ASM scope security, we are giving a cluster-based access to the cells. But database also you can do. You can make sure that 2 databases have access to only 4 cells. Both are possible, ASM scope security and the database scope security. And you have to make sure you have to configure a key, and that particular key must be pushed to the cell from the database server. And if the key is present, only then the database server or database will be able to access that particular grid disk. So amazing security from Oracle. That's a grid disk based security or cell level based security. I'm pretty much done on the storage. I have to give time to performance as a part of the agenda. So more information you will get on this slide desk. And let me give you these links as well. I'll share on the chat. Send it to all. Everyone. Yeah, I have sent on the chat, and the second link as well. Yeah, and slide deck. You will anyways get it. So coming to performance, because we need to save time for the questions as well, right? It's good that it's Saturday, but yeah, we have to respect the time as well, performance management. So again, see, X9M have also changed the game. You see, they're going to I've seen the articles, Oracle is moving to AMD CPUs from Intel as well. So you would see AMD CPUs in the cloud. So again, and persistent memory has been from X8M. Persistent memory gives you the microsecond latency, very, very close to 20 microseconds. So 1.5 TB persistent memory per storage server. Now the X9Ms, we are waiting to arrive in our company. We have plans for X9 very soon, or X10 very soon, whenever it launches. But X9M is the current availability from Oracle. We do have X8Ms right now. But X9Ms, since it has not arrived, so I don't know much about its internals. Internals can only be known when you have that machine, right? So with X8M, you do have persistent memory. And now that's pretty much. Now, if you are new to Exadata, right, you would see storage servers, right, database servers. Now you can have 8th rack as well if you don't have much budget. 8th rack is same as quarter rack. Difference is half of the CPUs are disabled, right? And I think memory as well, or the storage space. We'll check the numbers, but we don't have time much. Half rack, full rack. Full rack is the highest. 14 database servers, and then 14, sorry, cell servers, my bad. 14 cell servers and 8 database servers. Okay, half rack, 4 database servers, and 7 cell servers. And how much flash you have available in quarter rack? It's 76 flash. No, that's high capacity. Yeah, high capacity, right? When we say high capacity, that's a mix of hard disk and flash. When we say extreme flash, you see on the extreme right, and the extreme flash is basically completely flash. There will be no magnetic hard disks. I was looking for a laser. Just a second. Oh God. That's a problem with Zoom, I think. Not a problem. Let me just unshare my screen. I should have not done the full screen. Okay, never mind. Let me do the normal view instead of full screen. That happens when you're screen sharing with Zoom. The screen sharing hangs sometimes. So, okay, it's better now. So moving forward. Now that's pretty much okay. I think instant failure detection is started from X8M. Anil Nair is a rack product manager or the master product manager. He covered these details very, very deeply because what it does is instant failure detection, what it means in Exadata. You know, if you're not in Exadata, what happens is when, let's say, firmware of the network driver is hung, right? So you can't transport the data from the network layer, right? So the node 1 has to get from the response from the node 2, right? And it may take 30 seconds or maybe 100 seconds. 30 seconds is the net timeout, by the way, but it may take from a remote machine to respond. So if the network driver is failed or a firmware is faulty or the network card itself is faulty, immediately Exadata can detect it and evict the node, right? So instant failure detection, within a second, very quickly, a failure can be detected. That's why it's possible is because of the InfiniBand and the Rocky switches. They use RDMA, remote direct memory access. That's how engineered systems have been made. So if you see here, persistent memory, PMEM in X8M, it's very fast. Why? Because it lays ahead of the flash. It's the fastest. It's directly on the memory bus, right? You don't have to go to the storage tier. When we say persistent memory near the memory bus, we mean here nearest to the CPU. The far it is from the CPU, the biggest time it takes for the IO to be done, right? So that's why hard disk is the slower, flash is the warmer, and the fastest is the persistent memory. It's actually on the memory lane. RAM, when CPU accesses RAM, right, from the NUMA nodes, the persistent memory is also very near to the CPU, directly on the memory lane. That's why it's so fast. Log writes going to the persistent memory directly in microseconds. Flash was fastest, but now persistent memory, very fast. So yeah, we've pretty much done the architecture part. Quarantines in Exadata, quarantines is what when let's say cell disk fails or flash card fails or there is a IO corruption. So what happens automatically, a quarantine can be made by Oracle. Let's say when you execute SQL, right? With a specific execution plan, you get Aura 600, right? So you can have quarantines made by DBAs. And when that quarantine is made for that SQL ID, Oracle will never choose that execution plan. So your query will never fail with Aura 600. Similarly, your quarantines can be made for object ID databases, plans, execution plan, compression, Bloom filters, different kinds of storage features. So when you make a quarantine, Oracle will never follow that path, and you can avoid Aura 600s or critical failure messages. So basically what we are doing is we are avoiding. So it is purely possible that Oracle will avoid IO from cell 1, and it can just do IO only from cell 2. Why? Because you've quarantined that path, right? You can create quarantines manually, help create quarantine to take help, how to work with them, create quarantine, SQL ID, plan is system, DB unique name, SQL ID. So your particular SQL will never hit Aura 600 in that case, provided it's filling with Aura 600. So you can be very smart in tuning. You can bring smiles, on a Sunday to customers when something is down and you are on call, isn't it? So you just have to play with these things. So autonomous, well, I don't need to cover this. Autonomous is pretty much simple. It's been since a long time. Richard Food is the best guy. Follow his blogs, autonomous. So be careful before enabling it. Read his blogs. What it does is basically behind the covers, it will basically try to hard parse the statement, try to rebuild the index, but it will not use that index, don't worry. But behind the scenes, it tries to rebuild the indexes, right? It creates the indexes and rebuilds it because initially they are unusable, right? So that activity can hog down your system. Be careful before enabling autonomous indexes. Do the testing in your perf environments and UATs, right? Because before you mark them, before you accept the autonomous indexes, be very careful, right? So it may not be useful for all customers, but if it does, I mean, we're waiting some good things in 23C now. That's a long-term release coming up. So smart scans. Now, it's a very important point here, guys, in performance tuning. I have personally seen a lot of customers being benefited from smart scans, right? Now, generally DBAs, what they do is they think, okay, let me show you this. Okay, that's pretty cool for you. So what DBAs think is we have Exadata, we have gathered stats, we have dictionary stats, we have nothing to do here. Automatically Exadata will take care. There are a lot of things which you can still improve. If customer is happy with the 1 second execution plan, right, does not mean that plan can be brought down to 1 millisecond. It can be, right? And further from 1 millisecond to maybe 500 microsecond. If there is still a lot of opportunities to tune. If you've given a habit to customer of 500 millisecond, he will always be happy, right? But he may not know that there's still 100 millisecond plan available, right? Until you as a DBA try to do it, right? A lot of things can be done. What you can do is simply take baby steps. Try to invisible the index. From 11G onwards, you can invisible one index and try to see if the smart scan is helpful. If the smart scan is helpful and faster than index, remove the index. But I'm not saying drop it immediately. Just see if that index was being used maybe by some other execution plan, right? Or some other query actually, right? So very important points here. Sometimes because even indexes are used for stats quality. When table stats are not accurate, I hope you know the index stats are being used. Oracle is so smart, right? So be very careful. Connor McDonald covered that somewhere, maybe in, I don't know, Open World or which conference. So index statistics sometimes are used by an optimizer when table stats quality are not there. So the question you ask me is, Karan, what to do then, right? When will we adopt them, right? Well, enable their monitoring, alt index monitoring usage. See whether they are used or not in the $V object usage. Monitor them for 1 month and eventually drop them, right? But before dropping them in production, drop in UAT first and see if the same query performs well without index, and then only you go to production. I will never say go do directly in production, right? Because I have to be responsible for what I say, right? So how to check a smart scan plan? Table access storage full. Now, this does not mean a storage. This does not mean this does not mean it is a smart scan. This does not mean it is a smart scan. Why? Because if you see blue color storage, I'm not saying input, you will see blue color. It's just for highlighting you. If you see this information, storage predicate, customer validate, only then it is a smart scan. So having said that, table access storage full does not mean it's a smart scan. If you see this line, only then this blue color line, storage, customer validate, predicate information, only then it's a smart scan, right? And in this situation, it's an index range scan. Why it did not use a smart scan in this case? Why? Because this is an index organized table. Customer IoT, it's an index organized table. So in some situation, you have to live with the index and you can't use a smart scan. Why? Because the index organized table does not support smart scan, right? Smart scan statistics, you can check the statistics, use $systat and $mystat. So if you see here, I select count star from customers where customer valid A without index. Just look at the magic here. The cell physical interconnects bytes is 120 MB. And look at the physical reads total bytes. It is 18 GB, 18 GB. So from 18 GB, I read only 120 MB. Amazing. I offloaded. I don't bring, now from storage tier to the database tier, I don't bring that 17 GB data. I only bring 120 MB from storage to database node. So what I'm doing is I'm reducing the storage traffic also. I'm not bringing from storage to the database node, right? So, and the same is also shown in physical IO bytes eligible for predicate offload. Eligible means here the whole 18 GB is eligible for smart scan, and actual returned by smart scan is only 120 MB. Right? Oh, yeah. So that's pretty interesting. Xrclr is so smart that if the cells are very busy, it will send the IOs and the CPU work back to the database. So if you see cell physical IO bytes sent directly to BTB node to balance the CPU. So Xrclr is so smart that if the cells are busy, it will give back the work to the database tier. So the engineered system Xrclr, why it's beneficial is that most of the work is done by now the storage, because the storage is smart. Storage indexes, a lot of customers are, or at DBAs, in fact, they confused with smart scan and the storage index, right? They think more or less they are related, but actually they are never related. They're totally different, and both of the things are different. Yes, they can happen together. That means a query can take benefit of storage index and smart scan together, but they're never related. How? I'll tell you. So if you see here, the storage index is in the memory. Okay. So the cell storage server has RAM, right? It will usually have, let's say, depending quarter rack, maybe exit time, maybe some 200 GB RAM or 400 GB RAM. Exactly, I have to check my system. But typically, let's say 300 GB RAM, right? Or 200 GB RAM. Out of that, some GBs are preserved for storage index memory, and that GB are very less, 6 GB, 8 GB, or 4 GB only. The best place is go to storage server cells alert log and see what's happening in the alert log. It will clearly write you that this much of GB, 6 GB of memory reserved for storage indexes, right? So let's say 100 column table, couple of columns or 5 columns can take advantage of the storage index. So what it does is, in storage index is in the memory RAM. You don't create it, you don't drop it, nothing required from DBA. In the memory, they are stored. And what it does is, you fire a query select star from table where B is less than 2. What it does is, in the ASM allocation units, it has the ability to skip the scan of the allocation units, right? It will skip the ASM allocation unit scan because it knows in the memory which region has that column metadata or column data. So it knows this first allocation unit has B column values from 1 to 5, right? You see? And you see here, it has the value, so it scans only the first allocation units. It does not scan all the ASM allocation units. Okay, this is the power of storage index. So you save the time scanned for ASM allocation units. One ASM allocation unit size is 1 MB. In Exadata, it should be 8 MB when you create a disk group. 4 MB actually, I'll show you, right? IORM, I'll come back. Let me just show you that slide. Oh, we already touched that, right? No, hold on. Yeah, here it is, right? See how 4 MB should be is recommended. So when you create a disk group, allocation unit size should be 4 MB. If it's not Exadata, it should be 1 MB. But if it's Exadata, it should be 4 MB. Why? Because benchmarks prove it's the best. Recommended size is 4 MB. And when you hold on, and when you create a table, make sure the alignment is there for the table spaces as well as in the table, right? 8 MB initial, 8 MB for table and table spaces. If you do that, you are the best DBA. Why? Because you are making sure the alignment and the IOs are the best. And even it will take less metadata in the shared pool of the ESM, right? ESM also has SGA, right? ESM also have shared pool, right? Most DBs forget sizing ESM instance is also very critical, right? Remember, that's why it's recommended the memory target should be at least 1 GB in ASM. DBs forget that. ASM metadata, performance of shared pool of the ASM metadata is very, very important. Make sure it is at least 1 GB, the ASM SGA, right? Memory target, right? So have that alignment. When you migrate the system, make sure you get the system stats. Why? Because if you're migrating from non-Exadata to Exadata, when you switch over or you cut over with data guard broker, you gather system stats. Why? Because your optimizer must know you're going to a better modern hardware. It should know the IO's seek latency time. It should know the CPU speed, right? So make sure you gather them. Calibrate, we have covered, right? That's pretty much done here. This also we've covered. And so I was talking about IORM, right? IORM, this is pretty powerful. So in the cell storage server, what you can do is you can say alter IORM, create a plan, and you can say that sales production has 8 shares and finance production has 2 shares. So if you see here, sales production is 4 times more important than finance prod. So if you do that, right? If you do that, your sales production will get more IOs priority. Priority is always given to the first to the log writer, right? And the control file heartbeat. Then sales production database will get the most priority, then finance production. Sales dev, very less. Hold on, share. Okay, interesting. Sales dev has a 10 share in this example. Test has very less, 5, less than sales dev. And then default is 5. Any database which does not have a plan goes to default. But very important here. So this is very important here. So I thought I'll show you the math because most DBs are confused in IORM. They don't know what is a category. They don't know what is an intra-database or inter-database plan. So in IORM, what you do is here you start from bottom to up. Now come to the bottom, all user IOs, right? So first you can create a category for your systems. With DBMS Resource Manager package, you can create a category. So you can create kind of 2 categories, batch and interactive. Every database will have a category then. So if the database belongs to batch category, it will go in this area. And then interactive, in this case, has more preference, 60%, at least higher than batch, right? So my interactive is more important. So out of the 60%, 70 and 30 of 60, see here, 70 and 30 of 60, then goes here. So database A has 70 and database B has 30. Now of this 70, 35 and 40% goes to consumer group 3, consumer group 4. Consumer groups you make in databases, okay, with DBMS Resource Manager package, 19% and 22%. So at the end of the day, if you sum up, if somebody has a calculator, 16.8 plus 11.2 plus 6.6 plus 5.4 plus 19.6 plus 22.4 plus 4.5 plus 13.4. 13.5. If you sum it up, it's all 100%. Okay, that's IORM for you. Okay, and remember IORM. If you see here, that's how they are queued. The queues, you know, the consumer group, database A, database Z, until you know they are queued actually, and then they eventually go to the cell disk depending on their priority. Do they belong to which category? Batch category, interactive category. So remember. First, they're filtered by the category, and then inter-database. When I say inter-database means Oracle decides which database is more important, sales or dev, production or UAT. And then eventually inside the database, inside the database, which user has more preference? Does let's say Nasim Basha, he belongs to sales team, he has more preference, he has more shares, and Karan in marketing team has maybe less priority. Why? Because sales is more important, maybe, I don't know, because depending on the priority of your company, HR team, sales team, marketing team. So within the database, you can club username sessions to the consumer group. So intra means inside the database, right? And then eventually the data, the play or the games are done inside the databases. Right? That's IORM. So IORM again itself is a interesting topic, which I can share with you if you allow me a moment. So just give me a second. I'll just open up the IORM slide deck. Meanwhile, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll show you the IORM part as well. Meanwhile, any questions, guys, so far? Meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll share the slide deck for the IORM as well. There you go. So we have the IORM available. Just a second. I'll just show you how we can actually work on IORM. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So we have the IORM available here. So I'll sum up this with the IORM slide. Okay. Looks good to me. Just give me a second. Okay, see here. Now, this is IORM. Now, what you can actually do is, you can see what kind of plan is available. By default, you know, nothing is available. So what happens is, if you just have 1 or 2 databases, you don't need to configure IORM. But if you have more than 2 or 3, 4, 5, then you must have a good IORM plan. What's your objective? Whether it's balanced, you know, these objectives. So we have low latency priority, high throughput. You know, what's, as a customer, what is your priority? Do you give preference to low latency, which are usually OLTP workloads, or you want to give, have a high throughput latency for warehousing databases, or you want to have it balanced? All right. And then what you can use is, this is what I was talking about, intra database. You create a plan, DBMS resource plan, DBMS resource manager, and you create a plan name, group, high priority group, and then 80% is given to high priority group. And then what you do is you map session user or session schema names to the consumer groups. That's also done with the same package with a different code. Low priority group. So let's say 3 users, let's say Zahid, Nasim, Karan, they can belong to high priority group, right? So they will always belong to 80%, and they're always given the highest priority, right? So you enable the plan like this in the database. So that's intra database plan I was talking about. So first inter, then intra. Coming back here, see, categories first, then inter, then intra. So always remember that. So first filtering is done by category, then inter database, and then intra. So that's pretty much done, and that's how we have seen that. So now, interesting, you can even give levels over here, directive. You can have maximum 32 directives. Here, if you see, I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 directives, right? So you can have 32 directives. That's pretty good. So sales, production, finance, and remember level 1 and level 2. First priority is always given to level 1. First priority is always given to level 1. So whatever is left unused by level 1 is given to level 2, and then level 3, right? So think about it. If you have a cake and you are eating it, right? If you're done, if it's remaining half, then you say, okay, I can give it to someone else. Then that guy, if he also does not finish it completely, then he can say, okay, I can give it to someone else. I am completely full. I don't want to eat the whole thing, right? So if level 1 guys say, we are not using the full bandwidth of the storage, well, level 2 can take advantage of it. Maybe sales prod is idle. It's not doing anything. So level 2 can take advantage of that. So if level 2 is also idle, level 3 guys can take advantage of that. But if level 1 is busy, 100%, level 2 and level 3 guys have to wait. They have to, the Xrclr says, hey, sir, please wait. The VIP group is busy. You have to wait until we get back to you. Okay. So it's very, very, that's how you create a category, by the way. DBMS Resource Manager create category. Okay. So that's a good thing. So I've covered a good amount of storage and performance. And last maybe 15, 20 minutes, we have a good time available. We can have a Q&A. So last but not the least, as I said, you will get the slide deck. You will get the information. X8M is available information. These links are available on the slide deck. You can visit them. And these commands are used for the demos. Let me copy all and paste on the chat right now itself. So you will have right now all the commands which I used in this demo. Okay. You can now copy from the chat itself. So I've pasted all the commands I've used in the demo, and just for demonstration purpose. And yeah, we can have a Q&A. What do you say, Basha and Zahir? Just a health check. Am I audible?
Yeah, Karan, you're audible.
Yeah, Karan,
Perfect,
you're audible.
Perfect. So let me see the chat. Any questions so far? Okay. How can we download this PPT? Nagraj, I'm pretty sure you will get it. Zahir will be the best person to answer this. Next question is from Jay Khan. If you don't have Xrclr in your working environment, how we get practical knowledge of it? Unfortunately, Xrclr is not available for free. But what you can do is you can use those $300 free cloud credits when you create a new cloud account, right? And if you are, I think, an Oracle Ace Pro or Director, you perhaps get, I think, 5,000. I don't know. I need to check that. But still, if you're not an Oracle Ace, then definitely what you could do is you get $300 free credit. So don't worry, you get $300 free credit, and you can use it for practice, maybe for 1 week or depending how you burn your credits. But try to get a knowledge of Xrclr from documentation, from trainings. I will not market any university here, but yeah, I mean, a lot of YouTube tutorials are available. But yeah, I mean, there's a book written by Xrclr. Luckily, I remember one of the authors were Syed Jafar Hussain in Xrclr, and there was a couple of guys from NKTech. I remember that book is still available in the market, I'm pretty sure. So I forgot the name of the couple of guys of the NKTech group, but that book was amazing. Xrclr book. I can try to find out that book name, but yeah, it's available if you find Xrclr books. Kai Yu, I think, was also there, but yeah, try to get those Xrclr cookbooks, or those are very good books to start with. And let's go to the next question. But yeah, I mean, Jay Khan, I mean, really, I mean, if all of you who do not have a project, try to go into Xrclr project. If you need any assistance, try to have a go through articles, maybe interview questions, all these things. So try to get a project that will really help you. Could you please show the console of ILOM and brief info? Arjun, yeah, ILOM is basically, I don't have a console ready right now for ILOM, but what's ILOM, brief info about ILOM is that, let's take an example, Arjun. You want to give hardware diagnostic information to Oracle support, right? So what you do is you take ILOM console and maybe, let's say, show faulty. Run a command in the ILOM console, show faulty. There you will get all the hardware failures, like maybe motherboard is failed, or DIMM slot is failed, or flash card has failed, right? So what ILOM does is it gives you direct access physical. Practically, you won't take a flight and go to the data center, but you get a physical access from the button. What you can do is you can click a button from ILOM console, and you can reboot a server with like a power cycle as well, right? That's what actually you can do with with the ILOM console. So you don't have to go to the server and fire reboot command or power off command. You can simply power recycle or physical reset, or not reset, I should say, physical restart, right? So you don't have to visit the data center anymore. You can online restart the servers. Storage index is done automatically. Yes, Pawan, absolutely yes. Storage index is managed automatically. As a DBF, we can monitor statistics, and if something is not going right, then definitely we need to investigate. But yeah, storage index is managed automatically by Oracle. As a reminder, they are used somewhere up to 10 GB of RAM memory they take. Alert log will give all the details there on the. So what you can do is you can cd $cell die and go to the cell host name and check the alert log of the cell and check how much space is taken by the storage indexes, right? And your statistics have to be accurate. Make sure so that your storage indexes are leveraged properly. Your AWR reports and system stats and your $stat will show you whether the storage index is being used properly or not. But dropping and creating them, you don't have to manage. Your queries will take benefit in the second execution, not the first, because first time optimizer learns about them, right? Let me see more questions. Yeah, I mean, Hafizu, you will get the slide deck, and that's interesting. Pawan has shared a book as well on the chat. So Pawan has shared a book. I'm not sure if it's publicly available, but yeah, if it's author-based, I would say let the author, let the customer buy it and let the author get the credit. So what is system reco and data type when creating this group? Yeah, system is basically, Debashish, system is basically used for like maybe DBFS file system or customer business files, flat files, text files. Reco is for flash recovery area, like for your archive files and flash backlogs. Data type is for business data. I mean the actual data files, right? So how can we check how many tables are using flash? Yes, very good question, Adya. Amazing. So see, the first thing is you can go to cell CLI, and there are a lot of commands like list flash cache by object ID, right? List flash cache object ID, you can see how much flash cache is being used by that particular table, right? And in the execution plan, you would see the response time improvement by, you can always check $SQL and you can see actually how much are the logical reads compared to physical reads. And those logical reads are the total. And if you subtract physical reads, you would see the flash reads basically. When you say, when you say flash cache reads, right, they are the fastest. And when you say physical read, they are done from hard disk. So the flash reads will always be the minimum. Because if the data is served by the flash, it will be the fastest. I'm not saying the number of read requests. I'm talking about the elapsed time here, right? So if the data is not cached, try to keep the table out of the flash cache and see the physical read request will be higher, but the elapsed time will be higher. But when you put the table in the flash cache, the number of read requests will still be the same, but the time will be very fast, because flash is almost 10 to 20 times faster than physical hard disk. Keep that in mind always. So it's all about the elapsed time, remember. It's not about maybe the read request or the CPU time. It's always about the elapsed time. But yeah, obviously you can subtract CPU time from elapsed time to get the IO time. No problem with that. Most welcome to do that. Okay, that's always a good thing as well. Coming to the next question, where to put redo logs in disk or flash disk? See, Debashish, they automatically, the redo log writes go to flash logs automatically. If you go to the cell and you will fire a command list flash log, automatically you will see flash log is configured for 512 MB. So automatically your log writes will go to flash only. Don't worry, right? They are transferred to a hard disk later on. So you don't have to do anything, right? Still, if you see log writes are slow, obviously contact Oracle support. Not to forget, log writer trace file in the same trace directory where your alert log is, you would see a log writer trace file, right? Go to that file in the editor, VI editor as a Linux guy. Go to this LGWR trace file and check the latency of log writer. How much is that? Is it happening? Is it in microsecond or is it in maybe a lot in millisecond? In Exadata, it will never be a lot in milliseconds, of course. It has to be less than 1 millisecond in Exadata, right? So always check the log write of latency in the LGWR trace file. People just go to alert log, right? Go to LGWR trace file and check what is the write latency. In the AWR report, there's also log writer write latency, and there's a log file sync latency. Both of them can be compared to good time and the bad time, and they will always be very fast in Exadata. They should be close to 100 microseconds only, all right? In fact, lesser than that in XATM because you have persistent memory over there, right? Other than autonomous, okay, question is, other than autonomous database related to auto indexes, there is storage index also follow the same? Question is from Ali Anwar. So Ali, the thing is, autonomous database is a database which does maybe definitely like patching, self-tuning, self-recovery automatically. That's kind of I've not worked with autonomous, to be frank, because I'm purely on-premises DBA till now. So autonomous database, if you say definitely, when you say autonomous, all the things are done itself. So it uses machine learning and does the things itself. But when you say storage index, that's a different terminology. So storage index is available as a feature in Exadata. Remember my session, I just explained what's storage index, that you eliminate ASM allocation units scans, right? Because the storage cell memory has information. This column value is in the range of, let's say, column value 1 to 10 is in the allocation unit 1, and you scan only allocation unit 1, not other allocation units. So it's just like you go to Oracle University and you try to find your classroom, and you know your classroom, right? You don't scan other classrooms that where your trainer is. You just go to the classroom where your class is. You skip the scans of your other classroom. All right, not exactly a skip scan, but yeah, you can say you're skipping the allocation units of ASM to scan. So totally different. So basically, you know what? It's the opposite of indexes, normal B-tree index. It tells you where your data is not there, isn't it? Index tells you where your data is there, but storage indexes tell you where your data is not there, right? Would you recommend that we put Rico disk? Oh, sorry, hold on. I missed the previous question. What was it? Would you recommend that we put Rico disk group on the flash cache? You don't want to do that. I'll tell you why. Because if you put redo disk group entirely on flash cache, where will your data go, my friend? You want to keep your data as well, right? To serve the business. So don't put your disk group or flash recovery area entirely in flash. Don't do that, please. Right. And Deepak depends. Okay. Jamal is helping Deepak. Okay. So thank you, Jamal, for answering Deepak. I hope, Deepak, your question was answered. Let me check any unanswered question. SI is a feature. Okay. Thanks, Ali. Can we increase memory allocated to storage index on a cell server? Well, Oracle anyways have plenty of memory. So if it needs to allocate more memory, it will automatically allocate 8 GB, 10 GB, right? So if you see the alert log, 8 GB is already given taken care automatically, and it's a huge memory, 8 GB. And the server itself has 200 or 300 memory, right? Depending on the model, actually, I don't want to commit the memory, but it's plenty of memory available, 200 GB RAM available in storage servers. Single server I'm talking about. So definitely, if you really want the number, I can. Well, we are almost out of time. So what I'll do is in the slide deck, it is available. Definitely, you don't have to worry about it. And if you want to, what you do is basically you Google one thing, that data sheet. If let's say you want to say Exadata XATM2 data sheet, so you will get the exact amount of hardware information for that particular model. Okay, so that's that's something about it which you can do. So if you let me just wrap up the session with that. So what you can do is, let's say what you do, XATM, let's say -2 means 2 sockets. It comes with 8 sockets as well with the more hardware. Data sheet Exadata, right? Depending on which model. So that's why I was saying I don't want to commit a model to you. So when you Google that, you top of the you get the data sheet, right? So scroll down at the bottom, you will get the exact numbers. So if you go down, so yeah, here it is. See? Okay, the system is hanging, but still good enough to show you. Yeah, there you go. So we have done, yeah. So see here the amount of RAM, see, memory, 384 GB for the database server, and storage server, 192 GB, almost 200. It's a memory. Okay, so I'll give this link to you. So that's it about it, guys. I'll share the link with you on this chat as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Special thanks to the Saudi Arabia user group, Zahir and Nasim. Thank you so much for the support and the opportunity.
Yeah, Karan, basically
Thanks,
there
Karan.
are some questions, right? Basically, so what I will do is I will send those questions once again to your email ID, so that you know we can prepare kind of a blog post in our website. Okay, so we do like this for all the speakers. Is that fine with you?
Yeah, absolutely, Basha. Absolutely,
Sure.
anytime.
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you for your time with us, and it was excellent workshop. Okay, yeah, and we would like to see.
Yeah, thanks, Karan.
Future,
Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
yeah, we would like to see in the future Xrclr product customer, etc., etc. Okay, sure.
Sure. Thank you, Zaid. Thank you, Basha. Thanks a lot.